Fresh off the 4th of July and the fireworks between Capitol Hill and the White House as President Obama faces a legal threat for failing to uphold the Constitution. That's how we're starting off after this 4th of July. Welcome, everybody. Brand new hour now of America's Newsroom. I'm Martha McCallum.
And I'm Bill Hemmer. Good morning. You had a good weekend?
Excellent.
Yeah,
and you?
Outstanding.
It was really nice
after the winter vortex that we just came through,
Yeah.
I mean, this weekend was perfect.
It was beautiful.
Morning, everybody. Hope you enjoyed your time with your family and friends. Tensions reaching a fever pitch. Speaker of the House John Boehner firing back at the president's recent taunt aimed at Republican lawmakers. Remember this.
Middle-class families can't wait for Republicans in Congress to do stuff. So sue me. As long as they're doing nothing, I'm not going to apologize for trying to do something.
So sue me. You heard it, right? Speaker John Boehner now blasting that remark as he explains why he does plan to do exactly that. He says, quote, "What's disappointing is the president's flippant dismissal of the Constitution we are both sworn to defend," he says. "It is utterly beneath the dignity of the office," according to the Speaker, John Boehner. Britt Hume joins us now, Fox News senior political analyst, fresh off the 4th of July weekend himself. Britt, good morning to you. Good to have you here.
Thanks, Martha.
What did you make first of the president's comment? So sue me. What do you think?
Well, I think he believes that that the case won't go anywhere, not because it doesn't have legal merit. I think it unquestionably does, but because the Supreme Court and other courts are reluctant to get into the middle of fights between the executive and the legislative branches. And the court has typically in the past, and there's never been a case quite like this one, but has typically in the past taken the view that Congress has all the power it needs to force the executive to do what it wants to. It can use the power of the purse. It can impeach a president that it deems incorrigible, and so on. This case, the Boehner people believe, is different and will be set up in such a way that it can get the courts to hear it. If the courts hear it, I think the Boehner side has a pretty good chance of winning. But that's the question. Will the House of Representatives be deemed eligible to file a suit against the president, charging him with failure to take care, as the Constitution commands, that the laws be faithfully executed?
Yeah, John Boehner goes on to say the Constitution makes it clear that the president's job is to faithfully execute the laws. And in my view, the president has not faithfully executed the laws when it comes to a range of issues, he says. So he's essentially saying, Britt, you know, that if the legislative branch feels that the president is usurping power that he shouldn't be taking, that it's incumbent upon the legislative branch to keep that balance of power, those checks and balances in place, and to push back, that's what they have to do. They were sworn to do that. You know, it sounds like a legitimate argument.
It is a legitimate argument, Martha. It's just that there's a kind of a technical legal question here that stands in the way, possibly, of getting the case even heard. And that is whether such a suit against the president would be allowed to go forward. There's never been a case quite like this. There's never been a case where a legislative house of Congress has filed a suit on its behalf without the participation of the other legislative body, the Senate, and tried to get it heard by the courts. So it's, in that sense, novel. And there are bits and pieces of precedent from cases that are roughly similar that can be cited. And if you listen to the administration, you don't really hear arguments that the president actually did faithfully execute the law. You hear vague talk about, well, he has authority, broad authority to implement the laws. That's true, and it's particularly true, Martha, in cases where Congress passes a vaguely worded provision that the executive departments must then somehow put into effect through regulation. That's what happened, you may recall, in the case involving Hobby Lobby. That birth control mandate was written by the Department of Health and Human Services pursuant to a much broader provision on health care that was passed by the Congress. But it had the force of law because here was a case where the executive department really did have the authority in implementing the law to write such a regulation. What this case is about is, in part at least, is about explicit provisions, in specific provisions, such as deadlines and so on, in Obamacare, that the president simply waved away as if they weren't written into law. Yeah. Well, they were. So if the case is ever heard, you know, it's hard to believe that the court wouldn't find that that's what happened. But will the case be heard? That's the question.
John Boehner seems to be, speaking as if he means business in this case. And I think underlying all of this is a frustration with Congress that the president has gone around them, and the president flip in a way with his comments, so sue me, suggesting that he's tired of it. He doesn't like trying to deal with them, and that's sort of where the two sides are at.
Yeah, they're light years apart in terms of their view of each other, and there's really no hope for compromise. Mind you, Martha, that in most cases of this kind, where a president or his departments overstep their bounds, there'll be some victim out in the country affected by the law who will come and say, "Wait a minute, you can't do this to me," or "You can't help my competitors this way; it's unfair," and the law doesn't allow it. In this case, the moves made by the president as regards Obamacare didn't really have any victims of that kind, and you can see why the court would say, "Well, wait a minute, we don't have this didn't hurt anybody," and so I think it's a bit of a long shot, but it's a matter, as they say, of the first instance. So we'll have to see what the courts are willing to do, and it's going to take a while.
Hobby Lobby was somebody who pushed back and got somewhere.
Yeah, that was a
last
good
week,
example.
So.
Hobby Lobby was claimed it was victimized by this and was being forced to do something that both the law and the Constitution forbade the executive from doing, and it won the case.
Thank you, Brett. We'll see you next time. Have a good day.
Thanks, Martha.